Good afternoon, everybody. And Annie, welcome and thank you so much for taking half an hour out of your busy day to spend some time chatting to me about books.
It's a complete pleasure to be talking to you and taking that half hour out of lockdown, so no trouble.
That's great. Annie, you've launched your book this year. So I thought, and we managed to sneak in an actual book launch, which was fabulous.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
Oh, just extraordinary.
I know.
Great. So for those of you who don't know Annie is an actor, writer, director, corporate communications consultant and coach. A lot of C's in there. She's also the founding director of COUP, and her corporate work is highly regarded as an outstanding synthesis of dramatic art, management consulting, and critical thinking. Wow.
I know, I sound really busy, don't I?
Yes, you do.
And I hope you are. Busy.
You've worked with a range of companies and organisations, including Chief Executive Women on their leadership program, Westpac, Mint Ellison, Lend-Lease, and you mentioned Astra Zeneca before. Well done.
Yes, I had actually forgotten that we did quite a lot of work for Astra Zeneca prior to the pandemic, though, so we're not responsible for the vaccine.
That's all right. And actually, I met a former CEO of Astra Zeneca a couple of months ago, and he mentioned that, in fact, they had never produced vaccines before. That was not their core business at all. So they've ramped up worldwide to help the world get over COVID. So that's a story that really hasn't been shared. Anyway, it's for another day.
Also, I think that AstraZeneca is a lot cheaper, is it not, than Pfizer?
Yes, and that was another thing he mentioned. He said that they, as a company, decided to make it available at cost until everyone was out of the pandemic. So I think their vaccine costs $7 versus $20 for Pfizer. They could be wrong about those numbers, but substantially cheaper because they are doing, they want to help the world.
Yeah, they're being altruistic. Yep, and I've had AstraZeneca and I'm fine. Just thought I'd pop that in.
And ditto with me. I've had mine too, and my son's had his one of AstraZeneca and we're all alive and fine.
Yeah, everybody's fine. All good.
So you know what? If you're listening and you're not jabbed, get jabbed.
Get it. Go and do it.
Go do it. Your book, Why Smart Women Make Bad Decisions and How Critical Thinking Can Protect Them. You launched that in June at Harry Hartog's in Warringah Mall. It was a great evening, and we were actually lucky to get it in before lockdown.
I know we had over 100 people there.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, we did. And I look back now, and it's like I was existing in another universe, right? Where you could have people in the room. I know.
Absolutely. Like so it also, I guess it means you've got to seize the day. When you get out of lockdown, do whatever you need to do because you don't know when it's going to happen again.
Before they put you back in.
Look, it's been a wonderful journey working with you on your book, and I'm so pleased that the avatar of Eddie the cat made it onto the book. I know that's not Eddie, but Eddie's sitting behind me here. But I like to think that Eddie kind of made it to the front cover of the book. So great. Thanks for your time. So if you could maybe share with us, what was the motivating factor for you to write and publish your book?
So I wanted to write a book that was a bit light and funny, just to get women and men curious about their thinking and the flaws in their thinking. I wanted to write something that was sort of an antithesis to the deluge, the avalanche of pseudoscientific and pseudo-spiritual guff that is sent in the direction of women and men, but mainly women, on a daily basis that I think impacts negatively on their decision-making. And there's plenty of books written on critical thinking, mainly by men, Michael Shermer, Daniel Kahneman, and I had probably read them all, and they're a little bit dense and they're a little bit dry and they're a little bit male. And I thought,
why don't I write dry and male,
okay? And I thought, why don't I write something that's a bit funny so that people would get wrapped up in the story and think that's the sort of things that I do, that's the sort of things that I think, and that was the hook that I wanted to create, and that's why I wrote it.
Well, I read it and I loved it. It's hilarious, but actually very serious. And yeah, so well done. Now tell me, what was the hardest part about writing the book, and how long did it take you?
So it took me over 5 years to write it, but I'm not sitting in an attic overlooking a forest with a sharp pencil and a pad like that with people bringing me things. I'm working at the same time. So probably being able to refocus my brain onto it when I had a minute. I pretty much wrote bits of it wherever I was. If I was away on a trip, I'd take my trusty laptop and I'd do a little bit, or if I was working at Legal Aid, whatever I was doing, I would just write it as I went. I think the most difficult part about it was that, you know, the style of it, that it's a piece of it's a novel. So trying to write the narrative to fit the cognitive flaws that the character was actually being driven by. So I had to back right from the flaws. So that was really complicated. And if I do another book, I'm just going to write a novel. I haven't got it in me. It was exhausting.
Yeah. Well, I must say it's worked really well. I mean, it's that entertainment factor, but then there's some real serious kicker stuff in there as well. So it's terrific.
I wrote a really horrible narcissist into it who was charming, because I thought, well, we've all been there, right? Haven't we? Yeah. We've all been hooked in by the charming man with the killer smile and the, you know, neat clothing and the, you know, the sort of complimentary style of being. So I made sure that she was going to, that the narrative tracked through her relationship with him and what she finally does about it. But I'm not going to say what she does about him because I want people to read it.
Yeah, great. And tell me, how long did it take in terms of, once we kind of caught up, what was that the production-y kind of process like for you? So, you know, we caught up when you had your kind of good last draft, but how long kind of did it take from that point to June when you launched your book? And was that time frame something you expected, or was it less or more?
I think it was, well, everyone told me that publishing is just years and years and years, right? And so then when my friend Dagmar Schmidmeyer, because in a funny way, I'd sort of taken the computer and put it in the drawer and gone, oh, well, I've written that, but I just didn't know what to do with it. So when Dagmar said to me, you need to talk to my friend Jackie Lane, and then I talked to you, because of course writing, my original career, I'm an actor. So we're really used to rejection and just being sort of tortured by self-doubt. It's like where we live, right? Just weekly rejection and people, you know, terrible, second guessing yourself. So I'd sort of got myself into that familiar state with the sort of acting state of self-doubt. And then one of my acting friends said to me, oh no, writing's worse. It's worse. It's more, you're going to find it more difficult than acting. I was like, oh my God, is that possible? Anyway, then I came across you, and it was really when you read it and said, no, I think this has possibly got legs. I think it's got value. And you gave me some really good advice on some strategic things to do around the structure. And I guess that was pre-COVID, right? Was it pre? It was pre.
Yeah, it was.
Wow. Wasn't it? I think it was pre-COVID. So it's probably been 15 months, do you think, from when you first looked at it? I'm hopeless with time. I think everything happened.
It's probably actually closer to 20 months, because if it was pre-COVID, COVID was March last year. So
yeah.
So yeah, maybe about that. Anyway, so it's A year
So
and a
then
bit.
then you put me on to Leslie Williams from
Yep.
Major Street Publishing, and that was again quite a fraught for me, quite a
Yeah.
sort of confronting process. And she took quite a while. I think she took about I don't know, 8 weeks to sort of think about it. Not I think because it was really crappy, but because it's not your classic business book, right? Is
Correct.
it? It's not
Correct.
classic. It's a outside that. But anyway, she took a punt, and then that was I think around Christmas. So then that's pretty quick, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
she changed because originally, when I first came to you, I think we were going to call it "Bad Things Don't Come in Threes." Remember that?
Yes.
And then we were tossing, and it was that conversation we had about Gladys Berejiklian about talk about making some bad decisions around Daryl
Yeah.
Mellon.
Yes.
We took and then we took that idea that you and I had, and then
Yeah.
to Leslie, and then she changed the name of it. But it's a genuinely collaborative process, isn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely is. And and I really thoroughly enjoy that because talking through things with somebody, you're far off each other and different ideas spark
Yeah,
different kind of conversations. Very
yeah,
hard to do that on your own.
very. But you definitely need there has to be a like-mindedness, hasn't there? Because otherwise you just sort of at cross purposes all the time.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's to some degree the luck of the draw about who you like. I think we were lucky that we were like-minded, but I can imagine someone going to someone and they're like, no, that's not what I mean. I don't want it to go in that direction, but we didn't have that. So that was just really lucky.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. Now, tell me, and this is a bit of a leading question, what marketing have you done or paid to get done, and what are you currently doing, because it's a relatively new book because it came out in June.
Yeah, it is. So, so I have a publicist that I work with, that's from Major Street Publishing. So I've done a lot of radio, um, you know, Western Australia, Queensland, New South Wales, a lot of ABC, Daniloquin, funny. So quite a lot of radio. It was going well prior to the lockdown. I had done the morning show, so that was good. But then, of course, since lockdown, no one's allowed anywhere near anything. So that's a bummer. I that's sort of on the side of Major Street Publishing. I write articles and whack them up on LinkedIn. I shoot little videos. We have our own recording studio, so I shoot videos with my Groodle and try and have commentary, short, sharp commentary on, are these the sort of mistakes that you're making in your thinking? Is this what your day like is in the office? And then I whack them up. So I've sort of tried to keep going with it. It's finding, I think you said to me once, it's at the beginning it's this shiny thing that you've got, and then it's the maintenance of it that's hard. But I'm managing to do enough, I think.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point you make, because you do say to people, it's about consistency, and that you should really only kind of take on at the beginning what you really realistically think you can keep up, because otherwise you have a big launch and then there's kind of nothing. So
yeah, which is
yeah,
terrible.
and I must say, I love your videos. I think they're fantastic. So I hope you're getting some engagement on them, because I think they're wonderful.
Thank you. Starring Ryder the Groodle, yeah.
Yeah, and so for people who haven't got hold of your book yet, and we'll tell people where they can pick it up later on, to give us a summary of what's inside it.
Okay, so what's inside it is a story of a woman called Kat, who's in her early 30s, and the arc of the narrative is her as she tracks through about 10 months of her life. It starts with her boyfriend that you never hear his name, but he's called the hipster, and he leaves. And it's just a series of events in the course of her life. So she has a performance review. She tries to pitch an idea to the insurance firm she works for. She goes to a party. She goes away for a weekend. She does all these things with the backdrop that she's struggling with the breakup and struggling with the quality of her thinking as she tracks through these events. She's supported by the neighbours in her flat and her cat. So the cat, cat has a big role to play, the cat, and also these neighbours who at first she's like, I wish you'd leave me alone, but in the end she finds that their support is quite pivotal in her starting to recover from some of the magical thinking, some of the flaws in her thinking, and start to be more pristine and sensible with the way she thinks. So her decision making as she goes through the book improves. At the end of every chapter, I've got an analysis of the decisions that she made, the cognitive flaws that drive those decisions, and what you can do to intervene in that so that you yourself can make better decisions. And hopefully, she's very flawed. You know, she's pretty neurotic. And I think we're, you know, I'm hoping that most women, I certainly can relate to her, obviously, because I wrote her. Not that I'm married to a narcissist. I've got a really nice husband, but I certainly had my fair share of them in my 20s, horrible men. So I'm just hoping that women go, oh, I made that mistake, but then we all make that mistake. So there's no judgment. There's no judgment. We're all struggling with these flaws in our thinking. And if we can just stand outside the sort of magical thinking and pseudo-scientific stuff that drives a lot of our decision-making, I think we'll all be the better for it. So that's what the book's about.
Yeah, and it's great, and it's a hell of a lot shorter than Daniel Kahneman's book, Thinking Fast and Slow, which I have read. It's a great book, but boy, you've got to be pretty keen.
You do. But this is short, right? And hopefully fun.
Yeah. And tell me, what was your goal in writing the book, and have you achieved it, or are you still working towards it, or did you not particularly have one?
We have a communication consultancy. So I thought it would be really good if, when I'm explaining to the people in our programs that we run about critical thinking, if there was something I could provide to them that actually extrapolated more, and because we often don't have much time with people to talk through it. So that was one thing. I liked the idea of having a book in a bookshop that people could pick up and read. Some part of my brain, I've always wanted to be a writer. It just took me a bit of time to get to it. So that was the second thing. And I want to be a strong voice for reasonable thinking. And especially at the moment, what we're up against with this pandemic, I really wanted this to be a counterpoint to the nonsense that gets fed to people, and maybe then we can all start making sensible decisions and we'll be out of this nightmare quicker. So that's sort of my goal.
Maybe we should send a copy to every MP and Premier and other people.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Yes, male or female.
Yes.
What's something that you did that you think now you've been through the process that you wouldn't do again, or that you missed out that you definitely do when you do book number 2?
I think I will spend less time in crippling self-doubt because it's so time-consuming. I wasted so much time second-guessing myself, and next time I just go, look, just write it and then present it to someone like you a lot quicker, because I reckon I was probably ready a year earlier. And it was such a, I write about imposter syndrome. Well, I had a great big slathering dose of it, right? So I think I just wouldn't waste that much time. I would just say, okay, here it is. What do you think? Yep.
Good, really good point. And I think I I mentioned to a lot of the people that I work with, particularly when I kind of first meet them, say, oh, I've written something, but it's not ready yet. And I think I just say, hit the send button. You know, just hit send. Very hard. Very hard.
It took Dagmar Schmidmeyer, who you know that runs the Chief Executive Women's Leaders Program. She kept saying, just send it to me, Annie. I was like, I will send it. I've just got to rewrite and in the end she said, just send it. Just send it. and then she went, oh, it's quite good. Send it to Jackie. I was like, all right.
Oh, God, then you've got to go through all that again. Oh my gosh, I've got to send it to another person.
It's terrifying, I know, but finally good, you know, because I can wake up in the morning and go, I've got a published book.
Yeah.
And that's the most awesome feeling. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that's great. So the key message of your book is?
Analyze your thinking. Don't go with your gut response. Gut response has been elevated to an almost mystical level. Your gut response is just your memory firing off. Yeah. So there's your feelings, and they're really important, but they should not be driving your decision making. So you've got to have some really good analysis around your thinking that arises out of the way you feel. That's my central message.
Wow, that's pretty compelling, actually. Must probably go back and have a reread of it.
Please do.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, where can people buy the book?
Booktopia.
Yes.
They can get it directly from our website, which I can give you and you can put up on the.
Yep.
I think good bookstores all sell it as well.
Great.
Yep.
Yeah. And
you can't go into a bookshop, but you can order it from them. But Booktopia definitely.
Yeah, and you can also click and collect. So I've just, as is my want, I ordered 4 books yesterday.
Where did you click and collect from?
Yes, you can. Well, yeah, that was from Dimmicks. So they can deliver, or you can click and collect.
Yep.
So
okay.
Good-o. So now to the fun part of the exercise. We're going to do a little quick quiz. And it's a bit of fun, this one. So so how do you read? Are you e-book or printed book?
Printed book.
Best place for reading? Couch or bed?
In bed.
In bed. I go to sleep.
I cannot sleep unless I've read. Can't.
Yeah. I'm actually the same. I have to read for half an hour or so. Marking up books. Are you a page folder or do you write in books?
I will not write in a book. Oh Lord, no writing in book. No, I turn that page down.
Yes. Reading style. Do you read a few, skip a few, or do you read from beginning to end?
Oh, beginning to end. Oh, I couldn't stand that. That would make me go crazy. I find once I've started a book too, it's very hard for me, even if I'm hating it, to not finish it. I feel guilty. Yeah,
I'm very much the same. And I kind of used to have a rule that I'd read 100 pages. And if after 100 pages I really, really couldn't complete, I occasionally don't finish a book, but it's unusual for me.
Yeah, me too. I force myself.
Yeah. Outside of business, do you read fiction or non-fiction?
Fiction. I'm a massive consumer of fiction.
Oh, wow. Okay. Sharing books. Are you a hoarder or a giver?
Sharer.
Hoarder or sharer,
it gives me an enormous pleasure to go read that. Because I'm quite bossy too. I'm like, you've got to read it. Have it. Read it.
Writing style. Do you prefer Australian English or American English? Do you know the difference?
No, I don't.
Interesting.
What? Please explain to me.
So American English uses Z's instead of S's. They often leave out U, the letter U, in things like labour.
Oh, no, I hate that.
So no. There are some nuances in American English that are different from Oxford English, Australian.
No. I go for definitely English. Definitely.
There we
Colour
go.
with a U, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Annie, thank you so much for your time today. It's been really interesting having a chat to you about your journey and the kind of whole thing around you could have had your book out a year beforehand had you just kind of been brave enough to hit the send button.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Thank you so much for chatting to me. I'm very appreciative, and it's been a half an hour out of
and
lockdown.
Here's Annie's book again, Why Smart Women Make Bad Decisions, available at all good bookshops, and I will put up the website. It's also available on the COUP website. Have a great rest of your day, Annie, and look forward to seeing you in real life very, very soon.
Or hopefully. Thanks, Jackie. Thanks.